Happy Tuesday, everyone. We're back this week. Excited to see you guys. Today, we have a really juicy topic. We are going to be talking all about the things to look for and avoid in restaurant foods because we all know that going out to eat is really enjoyable and often a really good experience. But when you have arthritis or an autoimmune condition, you do have to be careful what you're eating to avoid flare ups, to avoid pain, and all the other yucky things that come on with eating foods that, we're sensitive to, possibly allergic to, and just don't agree with our gut. So, we're going to get into that today. But before we get started, we'll just quickly introduce ourselves for those of you who do not know who we are. I'm Jessica Melnick. I'm a registered holistic nutritionist, the founder of the Anti Arthritis Method, and the host of the Happy Joints Arthritis Solutions Group. And I help people with autoimmune forms of arthritis get back to living their life the way that they choose to, not the way that they have to, and being restricted by their joint pain and other arthritis symptoms. And Casey, I'll hand it over to you.
Yep. I am Casey Kephart. I'm a functional medicine nutritionist. I am the founder of the Feel Good Formula. I work with women with all different types of autoimmune diseases to get back to the activities you love to do, gain more energy, and trash your symptoms.
Amazing. So, like I said, we're talking about restaurant foods, what you need to be aware of in terms of the food quality, maybe some things you've never thought of before that could be harming you. So, like I said, we're talking about this because the stuff that we don't know that we're actually eating and consuming can hurt us. So, being just knowledgeable about what restaurant practices are, how they cook, the things that they use, some of the hidden sources of different allergenic foods. It's just really important to have that knowledge so that you can ask questions when you're eating out and, just feel more confident about what you're eating and, knowing that you're not going to get sick or have your symptoms flare up after you go out for a meal because that's no fun, right? It's always nice to enjoy a meal, but you don't want to feel like crap after.
Yeah.
So we're just going to go through a list of different things to look for that you may or may not have considered before. Because, like, obviously, the basics, like we all know, fried foods aren't good for us. They might taste delicious, but we all know that they don't agree with us very well, especially if you have an active autoimmune condition. So we do know that there's certain things that, we do want to avoid in general because they just don't make us feel good. So, things like really heavy cream sauces, things like fried foods, kind of a no-brainer. So we're going to go into some of the more subtle things that, are a little more sneaky that can be causing us some flare-ups and some discomfort that we may not have thought of before. So the first thing we need to look for is cross-contamination. So this happens a lot of times in restaurants in terms of food preparation. So for example, restaurants use the same fryers that they make French fries in, that they might even be frying veggies in, or other things. And so, for example, if you're ordering French fries, they're often cooked in this like the fryers are the same. So a lot of restaurants will say, well, if you have like a gluten intolerance or a gluten allergy, or you have celiacs, a lot of times they can't guarantee that if you order something like that's fried, that it's going to be gluten-free because they're cooking those same things. So for example, a samosa is deep fried. That is made from a dough, like a wheat-based flour dough, and that's going to go in the same fryer as your French fries. So French fries, potatoes of themselves are gluten-free, but the samosa definitely isn't. And so you're going to be getting some gluten if you are ordering some French fries. And the other thing you have to look for French fries is that a lot of them are breaded first. Or even, if you go for brunch and you get like hash brown type potatoes, a lot of those contain flour as well. So just ask if it doesn't say on the menu to clarify before you order those things. Also, things like cutting boards, utensils, surfaces that food is prepared on in restaurants. A lot of times, unless you specify that you have an allergy, not just a sensitivity, because allergies are considered more serious, they're going to be more careful about that. You're going to have foods that are prepared on the same surfaces, maybe using the same knives or the same cutting boards as foods that you may be sensitive to or allergic to. So please keep that in mind, especially if you do have a known food allergy. But also, if you have a food sensitivity, you would want to consider this too. So often with restaurants, like I said, you want to say that you have an allergy to a certain food, even if it is a sensitivity, because they're less likely to allow cross contamination to happen when they are preparing your food. And they're more likely to be a lot more careful because they don't want you to have an allergic reaction. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have anything to add to that, Casey, that I missed?
No, I think not lying, but like bending the truth a little bit about allergy and sensitivity can be really uncomfortable for people, especially now because we're hearing a lot of restaurants and waitresses say it's like an inconvenience, or people just tell me it's an allergy and they don't really have an allergy and it's just this fad that's going on and you'll be fine if you eat it. I would just get that out of your mind, honestly, because I think those people are the ones saying it that don't understand what happens in the body when you do consume something that your body doesn't like. So I think that's also a mindset shift too. So if you do want to start saying that you have an allergy to gluten or dairy or corn or whatever you're sensitive to, go for it and just stand tall in what you say, because your body is the most important part. And if you don't do that, you're kind of living your life for other people and their inconveniences, and we don't want to do that. So but I do acknowledge that it is kind of a controversial thing right now, at least in the United States, with restaurants and food allergies and everything. I think the
Yeah.
United States is also like king of people having food sensitivities because our quality of food is so poor, and so are our bodies right now.
Yeah, and we do see food sensitivities happening a lot more. Like you said, we like when we have illness, we have food sensitivities. And when we're not eating a healthy diet and we have like crazy amounts of stress, like so many people do, your gut is going to be compromised. And so it is so common nowadays for people to have many and various food sensitivities.
Yeah.
If you have an autoimmune condition, you have a compromised gut system, period.
And you have food sensitivities. Even if you say you don't, I guarantee you I could find one for you, at least one,
Yes.
probably 10.
Yeah.
So just don't be scared to ask and to speak up and to say what you need, because you'll thank yourself later for it, and your stomach will thank you for it too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's some other foods or food ingredients that lie in dishes that we may not know. I know since I started this journey, it's been a real eye opener on what restaurants do, just from asking or talking to other people or the waitress telling me randomly. So we're going to kind of go through that list. And most of these were my aha moments. Same with Jessica, like, oh, really? That has wheat or dairy in it, or that has this in it. So let us know in the comments, either if you're watching live or you are watching the replay. Let us know which one of these foods really struck you as odd, or what other foods you would add to this list that you found out have weird ingredients in it that you shouldn't be eating.
Mhm.
So I even remember the day I found this out. It's just funny because I don't make eggs at home with milk, just because I've been lactose intolerant basically my whole life. And I still forget to this day that restaurants make omelets with milk, to thicken it up and to make it more creamier and all of the good tasting stuff. A lot of them are pre-mixed though with milk. So sometimes the restaurants don't even have the option to make an omelet for you without milk. And sometimes they do, if they are actually putting in the eggs and then putting in the milk and all of that. So you'll want to make sure to ask if you really do want an omelet. However, the safest choice there would be to just have your eggs over medium, over easy, literally crack an egg, put it on the stove, if you're eating eggs. The next one would be foods containing MSG. Now we're probably all familiar with MSG right now because there was such a huge media presence about it, I feel like, years ago. And this is monosodium glutamate, and it causes a lot of inflammation and damage in the body. So a lot of
And
flare-ups.
it's a neurotoxin as well. So
Yeah,
not only that, it damages your nervous system.
yeah.
Scary.
Definitely. And it causes flare-ups, it causes more inflammation, and it's so tiny and sneaky in food that you don't know kind of what hit you. Um, so watch out for foods with that. It's a lot of Asian restaurants that do still put an MSG in their food. But other restaurants do it too. And things like veggies, they put it on, rice, noodles, even French fries. So if you are skeptical of a restaurant, if you are eating more culturally that night, there we go. You might want to ask if there is MSG in their food at all and ask if they can keep that out, or you might just need to go somewhere else where they're MSG free. And I have seen a couple restaurants say on their menu that they are MSG free just because of the backlash around it.
Yes. Yeah. And it's good to call ahead if you aren't sure. I know my sister would have asthma attacks when we were children anytime she had MSG, and which was actually really scary when you
Mhm.
can't breathe. And
Yeah.
so mom would have to call ahead of time and ask, does your food contain MSG? And like Casey said, there's more and more restaurants all the time that are not including it in their food because they
Mhm.
know that a lot of people are looking for it and they don't want to consume that.
Yeah, exactly. Do you want to take a couple, Jessica?
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing, we talk about this too in our programs a lot, is quality of oils. So a lot of restaurants are using, unstable oils that are either oxidized or rancid, not stored properly, stored around heat, stored by the stove. So, and just like not good quality oil. So, for example, I grew up in the 90s where it was the whole low fat craze. And also, it was like the age of margarine. So it was like
Yes.
butter is bad because of saturated fat, and margarine is this thing to do because you have these polyunsaturated fats that are more soft or liquid at room temperature, and that
Mhm.
these are better for you than saturated fat because we were taught that saturated fat, causes heart disease and high cholesterol. It's a lot more complicated than that. I won't get into that. That's a whole other day.
Next live,
Yeah, we
saturated
could go
fat.
on for a long time about that. So what has happened is that we have all these different refined vegetable oils that are used in cooking and at high heats. And the problem with that is that not only are they produced in ways that have plenty of toxins, so being expeller pressed, being exposed to heat, which makes them oxidize and rancid, which causes
Mhm.
inflammation in the body, using chemicals that cause inflammation in the body to express these oils as well. Um, and because they are unsaturated fats, a lot of them are very, very unstable. So there's different types of unsaturated fats. Some have higher heat tolerances than others that can
Mhm.
be used safely for cooking without going rancid or oxidized. A lot of them cannot. So things like canola oil, which is hugely used in restaurants and for cooking because it's cheap, it's readily available. A lot of the food is going to be cooked in that those
Mhm.
types of oils. Sunflower, safflower is also fairly popular too. But the problem with these oils, like I said, is that they're often expressed using high heats and chemicals, which are inflammatory for us. And they also
Mhm.
are not meant to be cooked with and not
Yeah.
meant to have be cooked with high heat. And because what happens is that because they're so unstable, all the different molecular chains in them are broken. They become oxidized, rancid, and inflammatory when they are heated.
Yep.
So things like deep fried food, for example, there's like stuff that's cooked in like peanut oils. Lots of times I would say it'd be canola oil because it's like flavorless oil. Like I said, readily available, cheap in large quantities. Um, Not good for us at all. So even if we're not eating fried food, a lot of our food is cooked in a large amount of these inflammatory oils. So just be aware of that. And I would ask ahead of time too. Maybe ask for things to be grilled without oil, or, lots of restaurants aren't going to have the kind of quality oils that I know Casey and I would use in our own homes to cook with that are, resistant to heat, like avocado oil, and coconut oil. So things like that, just be aware of that. Salad dressings as well. A lot of salad dressings that are provided in restaurants are bought salad dressings. So if your salad dressing is bought from the grocery store on a shelf, it's not a good quality oil. There's not good ingredients in there for you. A lot of restaurants use those. My clients and myself, I often bring my own salad dressing to a restaurant because I know what's in it. And I know that it's not going to make me sick. It's not going to be full of sugar. It's not going to be full of canola oil, soybean oil, which is also hugely allergenic and inflammatory. Even the salad dressings in the grocery stores that are in the jars and that are refrigerated, those have tons of inflammatory oils too. So just because they're in the refrigerator section, it does not mean that they're going to be good for you. You have to look at the ingredients.
Yeah. I want to add something to that, Jessica. There's a couple points there. So on the topic of salad dressing, when you say just bring out oil and vinegar, they're probably going to bring out maybe an olive oil and a vinegar. But that olive oil that's in the refillable bottles that come to you, think about the oil. How long has this been sitting out on a shelf with its with heat around it, with its top open? Is it expired? That is, and what quality oil is it? Is it organic? Is it just bottom of the shelf, low quality grade? So you get fooled when you say oil and vinegar because you think it's the stuff that you're buying good at home, and we don't even think that it's a whole different ball game at a restaurant. At least that was my thinking back in the day. So we're saying this just to kind of like plant seeds in your head and get you thinking a little bit out of the box when you start to go to restaurants. And one other thing you said, Jessica, was the heat with oils in the kitchen and spices and all of that. It reminded me to tell you all to not keep your spices above the stove. I know we all do this. I see a lot of kitchens with it actually, or like a cabinet that's to the right or to the left. You usually have your spices because they're right there by the stove. You put them in. Some of us have a shelf above our stove. Don't do that, please, because heat often ruins the spices, all of its properties. It loses its effect, it makes it go rancid, and it makes it cake and makes it go old faster. So make sure that they're in a cabinet away from the stove, away from smoke. Make sure they're in a dark, cool area. Same with your oils. Do not let them sit on a shelf where the sun hits it. Do not put it by the stove. Put it in a dark, cool pantry. Make sure they're not expired. And make sure you're buying a really good quality of it, because these are really important things that we're digesting maybe every single day, and we're just ingesting inflammatories if you buy that type. So that's one like low hanging fruit that we can get rid of. I know I got off topic of the restaurant thing, but PSA.
No, that's really good. And I know I go off on tangents when I talk about oils too, just because I didn't know until I went to nutrition school. So many people just don't know, and they're using what they think is good, and it's not. It's like, oh, well, it's a polyunsaturated fat. Like this is totally safe, and it's like, no, and it's not. It's because we haven't been taught. So it's not your fault if this is something you're hearing for the first time.
Yeah, we can do a whole live on this too. I think we'd have a lot to talk about, because I was taught growing up that canola oil is like one of the best oils, when really it's just a fancy vegetable oil, and we should not be consuming vegetable oils at all. So look it up.
Yep, absolutely. I can't remember if we actually did a live months ago on this one, but we should do it again. I know I've written an article on it in my group because it's just really important. But moving on to other things. Quickly, I guess I've already mentioned this at the beginning. When you're ordering potatoes, so if you're ordering like pan fried potatoes or hash browns or French fries, regardless if they're regular potatoes or sweet potatoes, but like I said, a lot of them are breaded before
Yeah.
they're deep fried or before they're pan fried because
Yeah.
it gives them a nice coating and it makes them like have a crispy kind of coating on them and it's appealing to a lot of people. I had no idea that this
Yeah.
actually like was a thing. So if that's like your treat food is getting some French fries or hash browns at lunch, ask how they're prepared, and and if they are breaded, see if you can get some that aren't. So
Yeah.
just to be aware of that.
Yeah.
And crab, a lot of times when the menu says crab, it's often imitation crab. So depending on where you are and like the level of the restaurant in terms of the food quality, you want to make sure that what you're getting is actually real crab because imitation crab or pollock, it's called in Canada, it has wheat in it. So it's a crab flavored seafood. It has a whole bunch of other chemicals and additives and colorings and flavorings and all that stuff in there. So just ask, and it's completely like with asking at restaurants, nobody's going to get mad at you for asking and being assertive and looking after your needs if you are being polite and kind. So,
Yeah. And if they do, screw them, honestly, because they shouldn't be doing that. And your number one priority and you're looking out for yourself, and that's what you should be doing. So take it with a grain of salt and know that you're doing the right thing. Again, Jessica, you're really good with the love and the nurturing, and I'm like, screw it.
be thinking screwed in my
Right.
head. I just don't always say it.
I could be that person for you.
Yes.
A lot of times in the US, at least, the way you can know on the menu, and I think most restaurants do this, is they put crab and it's with a K and not a C.
Oh,
Um, yeah, and that usually means it's the fake imitation crab, but is always recommended, and we suggest to just ask. And I don't think, unfortunately, that a lot of waiters would know that the imitation crab has wheat in it. So if they seem a little unsure, just ask if they could go back and ask the chef or read the label or something, because it's one of those things that you really don't think that this meat, this fish that has wheat in it. Another thing that was interesting to me when going out was corned beef hash. So the ones that are in the can and not homemade or homemade in a restaurant per se have wheat in it. So it's actually disgusting how many ingredients are on that can. There's like 25 ingredients and food colorings, man-made chemicals, maltodextrin, like things that just shouldn't be in meats. It's flabbergasting, actually. So if you're going to go to a restaurant and you're going to order corned beef hash, make sure you ask if it's gluten free. If that's what you're looking for is gluten, whatever you're looking for, ask if it does have that in there, because there are a lot of ingredients in corned beef hash that you wouldn't think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Another one is sushi. Now, this was new to me too, because I just assumed like sushi is, rice and seaweed and fish. And, sometimes you get tempura. Obviously, that's breaded. So, tempura, anything is breaded. Breading usually means
Mhm.
gluten. So, most of the
Right.
time. So just be aware of that. And one thing that Casey brought up to me was that a lot of rice for sushi is made with malt vinegar, which has gluten in it. So not all places, but you really need to ask, especially if you do have a gluten sensitivity or an allergy, is to find out if they have any malt vinegar in the preparation of their rice, or if there's anything else that they add to it. And of course, there's a lot of imitation crab in like certain sushi rolls, like I think the California roll that's super popular has like the imitation crab and the avocado.
Yeah.
Maybe a high-end sushi restaurant would have real crab, but again, just make sure you know. And on most soy sauces have gluten in them. They sometimes even have like wheat, like right on
Yeah.
the ingredient label. So there are gluten-free soy sauces. Yeah, you can ask for that. A lot of them are called tamari.
Mm-hmm.
Um, one that we use and with in my program, and it's just something I use in my own life, is coconut aminos. It's
Yeah.
a soy sauce alternative. So it's soy sauce essentially, but it's not made of soy. It's made out of coconut, but
Yeah.
it tastes like soy sauce.
Yeah.
So I know that what I'm getting is just fermented like coconut sap, and it's
Mm-hmm.
delicious, and there's no
Mm-hmm.
gluten in it. So be really careful with soy sauces.
Yeah. I would say too with the sushi, it's better safe than sorry if you are trying to stay away from gluten, just to call ahead at that sushi place. I'm just so shocked at how many people cook the rice in malt vinegar. Um, and that kind of eliminates all sushi options for you unless you're going to get like a paper or a seaweed wrap or something like that. Um, and yeah, just call ahead on that. So the next one would be my favorite meal of all time, chicken wings. And I make a mean chicken wing at home, but going out, you have to call literally every single place to see if their traditional chicken wings, which is just the bone in, is breaded, because that makes it more crispy for them. And I was just shocked at this a couple of years ago, how many people bread their traditional chicken wings. Um, and it makes sense. So make sure you call ahead to see if their traditional chicken wings are breaded. I also say traditional because the boneless are already breaded. Like those just don't come not breaded.
Yeah,
So
it's like boneless ribs, right? They're just coated in breading and deep fried.
right, right, exactly. So call ahead, but also if you are super, super sensitive, they're probably going to deep fry those chicken wings in the same fryer as maybe French fries that are breaded, or tater tots, or whatever they're doing there. Tater tots are breaded, by the way. So um, just check beforehand. And one caveat to chicken wings, I feel like I'm an expert in them, is the sauces. So if you like your chicken wings really saucy, again, make sure that they don't have wheat in it, or dairy, or MSG, or whatever you're looking for in them, because they hide a lot of ingredients in those sauces. I always get my naked or a dry rub. Still, with the dry rub, you do have to see if they are gluten free, because again, the wheat just comes in that dry rub like white on rice, honestly.
And
So,
corn flour is in
yeah,
those rubs often too.
yeah, exactly. So, if you are sensitive to corn, allergic to corn, whatever the case may be, call ahead, call ahead. If we're getting anything in your head here, call ahead if you are going out, because these things lie in every single thing, it seems like. And the last one would be saganaki. I can literally remember the day when I wanted to order some saganaki and asked if it was gluten free, and they're like, "No, we bread our cheese." I'm like, who breads freaking cheese? But I could
A
see
lot of
where that
people.
would be good. I know, but
Delicious.
it just looks like a plate of cheese on fire. You never would have thought that it has some breading in it, and it does. So if you were like me, or are like me, and just want to eat a plate of cheese that's on fire, think twice, because
Well, A,
because
we have the dairy, and B, the gluten.
I know, but I rest my case. Just call ahead or check with the waiter beforehand.
I love it. A plate of cheese. I know I used to get
On
that too once in a
fire.
while at a Greek restaurant, and oh my gosh, it was so delicious. And I'm also lactose intolerant, so there's a
Yeah,
lot of enzymes and things that I need to take in order to
yeah,
not get sick from that, and hence it is not an everyday food.
exactly, exactly. Uh,
So basically, what the kind of overall theme of this too is just so that you're aware of what is in a lot of restaurant foods, what you might want to avoid, what you need to ask, and we just want you to be assertive about what you need, you know. And like we said before, say that you have an allergy, even if you don't. Like if you have a sensitivity, it's just another form of an allergy. It's just technically not considered a medical allergy. But just because you're not allergic doesn't mean it's not going to have a huge impact on you, how you feel. For example, I have a couple clients who reintroduced corn into their diets the other week just to see how they would respond. Both of them went into a tailspin in terms of how they felt, and their arthritis symptoms just flared right up. So, and I'm not talking just for like an hour or a day. I'm talking days. Sometimes
Oh,
like a week or longer, having a flare up to corn. And this is like the organic, non-GMO corn. Sometimes our bodies just do not like a food, and I know it's disappointing and it's hard to accept it when it's something that we like really really love to eat, but it's better to know that you can't have a food and be aware so that you don't throw your body into a flare up and spend days or weeks trying to feel better. So it's okay to be assertive. It doesn't mean you're being a pain in the butt. It doesn't matter if it's like an inconvenience to the server. It's completely within your rights to take care of yourself and ask for what you need. And I believe that just being kind and sweet about it always gets you places. So
yeah. And what's the cost of not asking? Like, think about that. The cost is laying on the couch and not feeling good. The cost is having to take off of work. The cost is not being able to run around with your grandchildren. The cost is not being able to go on that trip you wanted to go to. So, honestly, is it worth it to inconvenience somebody with your questions, or is it not, and just lay on the couch with a flare up? Like, if you think about it in that terms, it makes it seem so little and like a grain of salt, right?
mhm.
Um, the last suggestion would be pick pick a restaurant that maybe has higher quality foods, and they won't be as resistant towards your sensitivities or allergies, but they also probably know a lot more about what's in their food. They're also probably using higher quality meats and oils and spices. So the chances are maybe a little slimmer. We're not going to say they're great, but maybe a little slimmer to you getting a flare up, uptick in pain, a flare. I think I just said flare up. Yeah. Um, so try that. The greasy spoons you're not going to get far with. Upscale chains or upscale one off places are probably your best bet. And like we keep saying, call ahead, call ahead, call ahead. So you're not inconvenience anybody, if that's how you want to think about it, at the table, or wasting somebody's time, if that's how you want to feel about it. Call ahead.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's it, right?
Yeah. No, I know that was we had a lot more to say than we originally thought. So thanks for
I
hanging in
know.
there, guys, and listening to what we have to say. And again, ask us any questions about this if you needed some clarification or anything else that you wanted to know. Just comment under the post, and we'll be
Yeah.
happy to get back to you guys.
Yeah, like and share too. So if you know somebody struggling with a restaurant or a gluten allergy, dairy allergy, whatever, share it to them. We'd love for them to see this, and we will be back on Thursday. We're talking, since it's in Canada, Victoria Day. Is that it? Victoria Day?
3 days coming up.
And then Memorial Day on Thursday, or I'm sorry, Memorial Day the weekend after. This Thursday, we're talking about staying on track through these holidays. The summer is right around the corner if you don't live in Florida. And so just talking about how to stay on your routine and to enjoy summer and parties how you would want to without a flare up. So join us on Thursday.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Take care.
Bye.